It's another fine day here in the QC, Charlotte, North Carolina, and I'm so glad to see it as always. I do hope everyone is well today and are able to get out and enjoy this day the Most High has given us. Getting that fresh air, that sunshine, and hopefully some exercise. And my thought for today is, what is it gonna take? What is it gonna take? And I was thinking about this thought today as I was thinking about how I went through so many things with my health over the past years. And I started contemplating that thing, and the Most High began to speak to my heart. He was like, well, Bob, you know you reap what you sow. And I said, okay. So basically, just because we come to the Most High with good intentions, we still have to pay the cost for what we put out there in the world, or put out here in this earth. And I'm asking the question now, is it going to take a stroke for you, open heart surgery, brain surgery, toes amputated, before you submit to the Most High wholly or whole? And see, this is a tough question to ask someone, but I am well able and qualified to ask, because basically I reap what I sowed over the years, because I was doing mess. And like the word says, when you do certain things, you're sinning against your own body. And I think that was fornication or adultery. But either way it goes, since I was fresh out of high school, I jumped into that world of pornography, which is a form of what you call it, not only adultery, but fornication. Any sex before marriage is fornication. And see, that was my vice, I guess you could call it. And that's what I was reaping from my mess. As I was speaking before, what is it going to take? And I really don't like asking these type questions But as I said before, I got to be obedient to what the Most High tell me to do on these recordings. Because I never know who might see this in the future. But the idea is, what is it going to take basically for you to get it together? As my wife used to tell me when we first got together. She was like, you need to get it together. Yeah, that's why I love my wife so much, because she never aggravated me about running the streets, which I never really ran the streets. I would just ride. I would go out and ride and smoke my weed. Because that's what I used to do all the time before. That's all I knew. I would work, do my job, come home, ride, and sell dope while I'm riding, and smoke my weed. But of course, once we got married, I didn't sell no dope. I had gotten that bug out of me a long time ago. Basically, I was just riding and smoking my weed. But she would tell me, you need to get it together. And I tell her, I know, baby, I am. But how many of us know we can't get it together? It's impossible for us to get ourselves together. We need the help of the Most High and His Ruach HaKodesh, His Holy Spirit. And like I saw a comment on an old post. Someone saw one of my older posts, videos, recordings, and they made a comment on it. And it was what I'm talking about now. We cannot make it without the Ruach HaKodesh, the Holy Spirit. We just can't make it. Ain't no ifs, ands, or buts about it. But even with that said, it takes some work on our part in submitting to Him and being obedient to His voice. But as I was saying before, in giving my testimony, the Most High warned me that I was about to go through the stroke, the open heart surgery, the brain surgery, and the 3 toes amputated. He didn't come out and say, Robert, you're about to have a major stroke, where you'll have an open heart surgery, brain surgery on your brain surgery to remove blood clots, 3 major surgeries on your leg to remove blood clots. And because you had so much blockage in that leg, you're gonna have to have 3 toes amputated. No, he didn't tell me all that. No, he just warned me like a kind father would. He said, Robert, some things are about to happen that's gonna shake your faith, but don't take your eyes off me. Know that I'm always here for you. I never leave you or forsake you. And I warned your wife. And that's what I did. I warned my wife for like 2 months straight. He just had me every other week. He had me coming back to her. Baby, the good Lord told me that such and such and such, and to the point she was parroting or repeating what I said before I even got it out of my mouth. She said, I know. Something major is about to happen. We got to keep our eyes on the good Lord. He's with us. He'll never forsake us. To the point it was a blah, blah, blah thing, the way she was repeating. But then one night I had a stroke. I got up to use the restroom and straight fell out and slammed my head against the back of the door in the bedroom. And I thank the Most High, my wife heard me, and she got up and was trying to keep me conscious. Called the ambulance, got me in to the hospital, and they told her we're gonna have to do surgery because there's blood clots in his brain. So they did this new experimental surgery where they drove a probe up from my left thigh all the way over to the right side into my brain, through my heart, all the way up into my brain. And this probe had a camera on it and this instrument on the end of it that it blasted the clot and sucked it out. So they did that, and right after that they said they had to do an open heart surgery because one of my heart valves was defective. And I believe at that time when they was doing the brain surgery where they slid that probe up through my heart, I believe that's when they damaged my heart valve. But anywho, who can tell? I don't know. I can't prove it. But anywho, they had to go in and do open heart surgery to replace that heart valve. And I like to show the zipper at this time, but this shirt is too tight. This hoodie is too tight. But I'll show a picture of it because I like to tell my testimony. When I tell it, I like to show the pictures so I have proof of what I went through. But anywho, after that, here come the doctor telling me again, we need to get you to see a foot doctor, a foot surgeon or a leg surgeon. I forget the exact name, orthopedic, ortho something. Anywho, here he come telling me that he needs to do surgery on my leg because I have blood clots in it. And without surgery, I could lose my leg. So of course I'm like, well, basically I'm lying because I was still unconscious and my wife had to make that decision. So they did the surgery on my legs and then came to the point where the doctor was telling me, okay, we were able to save your leg, and they sent me home one day after a checkup, and I noticed the tips of my toes starting to get black. I'm like, uh-oh. So the doctor came, he told me, he said, Robert, we're gonna have to take them toes. I said, you're gonna have to do what to what? He said, we're gonna have to amputate them toes. I said, won't it go away in a few days? He was like, no. He was like, matter of fact, it's gonna get worse. So he sent me home 2 weeks. And I came back and I went home and cried like a baby. And came back and told him, okay, let's do what we gotta do. Well, I went home and cried like a baby one night. The first few weeks I was praying hard as I ever prayed because I didn't want to lose my toes. And then one night I was talking to the Most High. He was like, you know, this is something you're going to have to go through. And it wasn't those exact words, but that's what he said. You're going to have to go through this. And basically I stopped crying right then and there, sucked it up, and went back to the doctor the next day and said, let's do it. And I've had a whole new outlook on all of this ever since that night. Because I knew it was for a purpose. Not only was I reaping what I sown, but at the same time, the Most High was going to get something out of it. He was going to get a testimony out of it. So I ain't going to beat this dead horse no longer. I just wanted to come back on and tell my testimony once again that the Most High did deliver me from a major stroke, which should have killed me. And that's what my doctors called me. They called me a walking miracle, a miracle man. And do know, most of the doctors I know, they don't like giving nobody the credit but themselves. But the ones I ran across, they'd come in, look at my chart and be like, whoa. Because I was always jipper, up and about, happy, smiling. I was just good to be alive. Because it was such a traumatic experience when it happened. I was good to be awoke I was really scared. I ain't gonna lie, I was scared because I couldn't talk. I had to learn how to walk again. I had to go to a speech therapist to learn how to talk again. That's why sometimes I slur my speech, and you might see drool spit on my chin from drool, and that's why, because I'm having to learn how to do all this over. Now it's been quite a few years, about 3 or 4 years since I've had this stroke and all these surgeries and therapy, and I've been back out working, and the job that I had before I was working, my first job back was I was a what they call well, that's not important, but I went back to work typing and talking on the phone, talking to folks. And I've gotten back out here on my bike, which first I got back out here and started walking, which was all a challenge because the doctors told me I had what they called a hypersensitive foot. And that means that anytime something is touched across it, rubbed across it, it feels like pins and needles or stabbing, to be honest. But I can put on my socks and stand and walk, but I can only walk for a certain length of time and length or certain miles. Basically, I can walk a mile and I have to sit down and take a break because my foot is hurting. But yeah, I don't hold back when he tell me to tell my testimony. It's a privilege for me too, because I know where I was and I know whose I am, and I'm able to tell it because he saved me. And see, that's why I stress this point today, that we have to reap what we sow. What we put out, we get back. And I hope and pray that you will come to the Most High and get it cleaned up. Shalom.